So we continue from risk of collapse. Okay? So the description of risk of collapse says risk of collapse to size of basement hole exceeding 1.5 meters from ground level. Since we know that basement consists of a basement trench and also a basement hole, we are going to calculate risk of collapse for the basement hole and also for the basement trench. So we're going to start with risk of collapse for the basement hole. Risk of collapse is measured in square meters, which is perimeter and the height. If you don't want to use the Sonia perimeter and height, you can use the one length and height, width and height. But you need to multiply your length by 2, you need to multiply your width by 2. When you use the Sonia perimeter, you don't have to multiply by 2 because perimeter will be multiplied by 2 just like this one. So what is the perimeter of our hole? Again, it's the risk of collapse for the hole. So we're going to use the perimeter for the hole. So what's the perimeter for the hole?
33,320.
33. And then what's the height? Risk of collapse for basement hole. We calculate the risk of collapse externally. Now, although yes, we know that our basement hole starts below the height. 2.9. Yeah, we know that the basement hole starts below the hardcore again. Basement hole starts below the hardcore. So this 2.9 is where our basement hole starts. But when we calculate the risk of collapse for the basement hole, we need to calculate external starting from here. Starting from where the trench starts. Here the trench starts from where the concrete footing starts. So that is where the risk of collapse for the basement hole starts right here. So now it's going to be 2.9 plus this 350 plus 375. That's how you get the risk of collapse for the basement hole. You don't take this 2.9, it starts where the trench starts. So it's going to be 2.9 plus 350 plus 375. Get how many?
3625.
36 to 5. So it's going to be 3.63. Do we multiply our perimeter by 2?
No.
Okay, so if we want to use the other one, your length and width, what is our length? 9.33 again. If you use this one length, you need to multiply by 2, and then the height is 3.63. And then this is the length and height, width and height. Our width was 7.33, and then the height is 3.63. You multiply by 2. So it's either use this one or use this one. And then now we need to calculate the risk of collapse for basement trench, risk of collapse for trench. So risk of collapse for trench, the height, you use the height for of excavation. So the height of excavation, I get it under the concrete footing. So it's 350 plus the 375. So H is equal to 350 plus 375. 725. So this is the height for the risk of collapse for trench. And then risk of collapse for trench, what is the length here? So the height is 0.7. And what is the length?
25,3.
The length of seeking, is it perimeter or is it center line?
Center line.
Center line. We did it or we calculated on the corrections. So how do we do it?
29,320.
29.
320.
29, 320. This is the center line for the trench. So you take the center line of trench and then
minus 4 of
minus 4 of 1,000. So for risk of collapse of the trench, you take center line of the trench, which is 29, 320, and then you subtract 4 of 1,000.
25,
320. If you don't want to use the Sonia center line, you can use the 1 year perimeter. Again, perimeter you can
33,320.
33,320. And And then if we use this one here, perimeter, we need to subtract 8 of 1000. If we use the 1 year center line of the trench, we subtract 4 of 1000. If we use the perimeter, we subtract 8 of 1000. For this 1 year center line, already we've subtracted 4 of 1000. So what is it? What is left? It's 4 of 1000. But this 1 year perimeter, we have not yet subtracted anything. So it comes to our same answer as this one, right? So it's 25, 3, 2, 25, 3, 2. More on the measuring list, what I'm finding after the rest measuring list is on page 54. The risk of water, the risk of water, it's item. After risk of water, working space. The description of working space is not exceeding 500. So working space not exceeding 500. What is working space? Working space, what are they talking about when they say working space? Working space, if like so the place that they are going to work at. So for working space, really length, really the height. Working space just like risk of collapse in square meter. So working space, very perimeter is equal to 2L plus 2B. Working space here is around 1 is for the whole again. So if it's for the whole around length and the breadth, it's on the whole length are like the whole 9330 and then the breadth 7330 from 3332. So the working space again, total change a height, only the height is going to change. The length of the working space length is equal to the perimeter of the hole. So here is our perimeter of the hole, look at 33.32. And then the height, we're going to take this 500 out, but it is not exceeding 500. So it's 0.50. And then hole arena, what's the size of our hole? What is the height of our hole? Is it 500? You know, our working space is not complete again. So more or not exceeding, it is exceeding 500 now, but not exceeding 1.5. So the length doesn't change, still it's going to be the perimeter, 33.32. So how are we going to get the height? Now it is exceeding 500 but not exceeding 1.5. And the 500 we will already use it there. So how are we going to calculate the height of the working space? 1.5. You take this one here, it says not exceeding. Again, so 1.5 minus 500. We subtract the one that we've already used. Again, we have written down our height is 500. So now we no longer have 500, we have 1.5. We want to check in this 1.5, what is it that is left? Since we minus 500, so we are left with 1,000 again. So as I said, the length doesn't change. So our height is 1.00. Is our height 1,500 the height of the basement hole? Now still we are not done. And remember, market due again. Due not exceeding 500, not exceeding 1.5. So now it's going to be exceeding 1.5, not exceeding 3 meters again. So what is the total height of our basement hole? 2.9. 2,900. So we take this 2,900, what do we subtract? 500. What do we subtract? We subtract the one that we have used on the other bracket again, or we subtract this one here already, it is exceeding. Again, more like when we took 1.5, that is not exceeding. We subtract the one that it is exceeding again. So even here, say 2.9 minus the one that it is exceeding, which is 1.5. What are we left with?
1.4.
1.4. 1,400. So our length remains the same. People guys, 33.32. So working space it's perimeter and height. Perimeter and height. The perimeter can length and length and height, length and height. You use the perimeter for the basement hole. And then what's going to be our height here? 1.40. Okay, so now let's take 500 plus 1,000 plus 1.4. 2.9 again. If it doesn't give you 2.9, which is the size of the hole, it's wrong. So since it gave us 2.9 around, we are done again. So now, let us check the description here, the working space. Right? Exceeding excavation back approximately 1 meter from basement to wall, not exceeding 500 meters from ground level for working space, including R, F, and R. So when you calculate the working space, you will calculate the working space for the wall. So we will calculate the working space for the whole basement. So there's no need to divide it to calculate working space here, trench calculate working space here. Yeah, the basement room. So we did a working space, we all did for the whole basement. So he included Moka Mukayo. So now we're going to take off the 331, which is the foundation one. You always start with the foundation one. So it's the 331. So 331, sorry, it's square meter, not cubic, and then direction, the length, and also the height. So what is the length of our 331 direction? Which length? How do we get the length of the wall? Direction, guys? 3660. The length of the wall, how do we get it? How do we get the length of the wall?
2.9 minus.
Okay, to get the length of the wall, more of the 10 loop again. Since the 330 wall is at the center, this is the 330 wall, it's at the center of the concrete footing of the trench, it's at the center of the footing. So now the center line near the trench will be the center line for the 330 wall. So 330 wall length of the 330 is equal to the center line. So we don't have the center line of the 330 but we have the center line of the concrete footing. And because the 330 is in the middle of our footing, you share the same center line with the concrete footing. So more the length of the 330 is the center line of the concrete footing. So check on your collection what is the length of the concrete footing, the center line of the concrete footing. 29, 30. So that is the length of the 330 wall. Length of foundation wall. 330 here is the foundation wall. The length of the foundation wall is the center line. And then where do we get the center line? The center line of the 330 wall will be the same as the center line of the trench because our 330 wall is in the middle. It's in the middle of our footing. So you should have said center line. So center line, but again, 330 wall is square meter, and then it has a length, it has a height. The length of the center line, the length of the 330 wall is the center line. The center line is center line of the trench. Why is it the center line of the trench? Because because the foundation wall is in the middle of our footing, so it shares the same center line. So we have the 29.32, which is the center line. What is the height of the 330 wall? Kermo, we said it's length and height. What is the height of the 330 wall? Three seven five. 375 plus 2 of 150. Two guys.
675.
675. Do you all agree with this height? Height will you check the 330 wall where it ends. So let's get 2 of 150 plus 375. Let's show come up. Huh? 675. Why is it sure? You feel like I can do 331. What do you guys? No, 330 wall is this one. It's the foundation wall. Foundation one ends here. Before this asphalt, this dark line, bolded line. From more to your car, it's divided. It's no longer 330. It's only 110, only 220, only 20. It's no longer a 331. And another block of the 331, which is the foundation wall. So if I like so normally 675, you guys 0.68. Yeah, so that's how we get the 331.